Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us here on our Zoom version of University of Scouting 2021. So today you've come to my class to learn about girls. No, girls with special needs. No, girls with special needs that want to join Scouting, and there are girls joining Scouting successfully so. So let's go ahead and dig in and see what all this is about. You know, it used to be initially that Boy Scouts wasn't just that, boys. But then, we came to understand that there were some girls that really liked what we were doing and they wanted to join us. And so eventually it rolled over, and yes, now we have girls in Scouting. And I personally love it. As long as I've been in Scouting, I've always included the sisters of the boys that were in my unit. And I found them to be very, very intriguing. But along with that mixture came some girls with special needs of their own. Now, so why do these girls want to come to Boy Scouts? Well, it's real simple. As I said, we're doing the things they want to do, okay? They may have already tried Girl Scouts. It didn't fit them so well, okay? The girls over there wanted to sell cookies, or they wanted to do power building things, or whatever it was that they were doing that the girls weren't interested. They were looking at their brothers going to Boy Scouts, and they were going rock climbing, and they were going camping, and they were doing other things that they wanted to do. And in that same scenario is the second reason that they will do that, and that's for mom and dad's for their sake. Guess what? If I have a girl and a boy, do I want to go run here, drop this one off, then run over here, or maybe have one day here and one day here? If I can find a unit where both my children can join, they can succeed together. So that's what's happening. So with this comes these special needs girls. Now, the thing about the girls is it's going to be a little different. The boys, we see a lot of their special needs coming a long way off. We see them as they're younger. We catch on to them when they're starting their struggle. Girls, on the other hand, not so much, because girls and boys develop very differently. The primary difference, especially in the world of autism, has to do with how the brain of a male develops versus a female. Now, if we go back to our growth and development back when we were, remember, in high school and some of us in college, it's different areas of the brain that get activated. Girls, as they're growing up, they mature a little faster. Now, that's not to say that boys are immature. Boys' brains are working on other skill sets, building things, putting things together, the logic of the picture. The girls' brains are functioning too, but theirs is a little bit easier to see. They're learning on how do I get along in society? How do I mimic someone else's behavior? Oh, there's that word, mimic. Okay, here's the issue. A lot of the boys that come to us in Scouting that we learn are either ADHD, ADD, autism, whatever have you may. What happens is, because of their lack of social skills, is usually what gives them away. But then you put them on a task, like you give them Tinker Toys, or you give them Legos, or you give them any sort of a project where they have to put things together to build it. They excel at that. Girls sometimes will struggle with that. But see, these very same girls are looking normal, and I do put that in parentheses because really anymore today, what's normal? But what happens with these girls is they are able to groom themselves. They can learn the social skills because they're focusing on that as opposed to the boys who are focusing on the logic. Now, I realize it's a very, very simplistic breakdown, but I think you're getting the point about why we don't pick up on the girls as quickly as we pick up on the boys. So here's another thing. Boys are more likely to react to stress outwardly than the girls will. And you got to watch for this, because when you see a youth start to quote-unquote meltdown, what came to your mind? I'm going to go with safely most of you thought of boys. But see, girls have meltdowns too, but their meltdowns are different. The meltdowns with a girl could be, and of course every individual is different, but a good portion of them, when the girls melt down, they tend to go inward. They tend to kind of self-collapse. They just get quiet. They go off to a corner. They disengage from society. The boys, on the other hand, when they have a meltdown, they've had all this stuff going on inside this whole time, and they tend to explode. So girls will tend to implode, boys will explode. So even that is something that you're going to see. The boys will possibly show their anger by misbehaving. The girls will go off to a corner. Okay? That doesn't mean she needs less of your attention than the young man over here who just exploded. They both equally need attention. And we can do this, and we can give this to them in scouting. Okay. Girls are more self-aware. They're very conscious of fitting in. The boys could care less. They're just out doing whatever it is that they're doing. Okay? So, we said that girls are typically more verbal and social early on, so that's why their deficits are not noticed. Okay? However, the cost to that is that by the time they are discovered, the girls are further on in years, sometimes as late as teenage and 20s and 30s. And herein lies the problem. The behaviors they have learned, that they have developed, are ingrained in them. Okay? So that, and these are the higher functioning. By the time they get caught, they've had a lifetime of events that were very sad because they got rejected, they weren't invited to parties, they just didn't fit, and they always knew that something was off. Okay? Those are the higher functioning girls. The lower functioning girls, which are the ones we're going to see in the Cub Scouts, and we're going to see them more often, are the ones that they're even still struggling with those social skills. I know a young lady, she is now 9 years old, and she was in Girl Scouts, and she kind of bounces back and forth between Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. And part of her disability was she couldn't stand it when the crowd around her was loud. She was always doing this, okay? She was trying to protect herself. If any of you have been in any of my classes about scouting with the boys from past seasons, you'll notice that that was one of the things that I said that these children would do to protect themselves. So these girls are going to come to us significantly more with higher deficits, okay? They're going to be easier to spot, but they're going to require a lot more attention. But again, just like I always tell you with the boys, if you put the preparation in, the time, and the energy, you are going to find that these girls are going to blossom. They may not talk as much as the boys, because remember, at that point the boys are technical and they've already been in speech therapy and they've already been in occupational therapy and the school's already been on it. These girls are maybe only just now, because they exhibited a behavior at school, been actually identified. So they're way back here in their treatment plan, where the boys are up here in their treatment plan. Okay? So, society is well informed, and we're looking out for those boys. So now we have to open up our eyes and watch these girls, okay? And there are very similar attributes to the boys and the girls. Are they fitting in? Are they vocal? How are they communicating? How are they receiving the message? How are they responding to stressors? What are their triggers? So a lot of what I've already taught you in the years gone by and in my other 2 classes today are the same techniques that you're going to use with these girls. Okay? So, boys and girls on the spectrum, they have the same symptoms that impact their daily lives. So if you remember, if you've taken my other classes, if not, then I'm going to remind you or let you know. When I want to show somebody how to be autistic, I have a little technique I use. I put you in the middle of the room, and I put one person here, one person here, one person here, one person here. And each of them is given a different task, a different sensation to apply to the person in the middle who's going to be autistic for a minute. Now, when we do this, it becomes very clear because that person in the middle has the right to put their hand up and go, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Okay? However, the person on the spectrum doesn't have that ability. With these girls, one of the other things I want you to look out for, boys, if they get bullied, they tend to push back a little bit more than the girls will. The girls won't push back quite as hard until they're at their backs on the wall, and then in plain English, all hell's going to break loose. However, one of the things that I want you to watch for with these girls is they've had a lifetime of rejections, not fitting in, and just not feeling it. So one of the things they might have experienced or watched is something called bullying. And I know many of you are going to be taking Karen's class. It's a fantastic class. But please know that you've got to watch these girls. Watch for the behaviors, for the triggers that she's going to give in her class about what you need to know when somebody's being bullied, know how to intervene appropriately, and how to prevent it from happening. So these girls, especially the lower functioning ones, are going to be at a higher risk because it's going to take longer for them to act out than it is for the boys when they start getting picked on. The question that I was asked the last time I gave this class is, well, can't we treat the girls the same as the boys? Well, that's an interesting question. And it was so important that I thought to include it this time. Yes and no. Okay, so now I've confused you. Can we treat the girls the same as the boys? Well, the big answer is yes. Each child should be treated as if they're the most important person in your life when you're working with them. Can we always do it the same is the question. So it's not so much the message, it's how you're going to deliver the message. The message is, yes, you are a full-fledged scout. Yes, you belong in this unit. Yes, you're going on this activity with us. And yes, you're going to earn all the honors and ranks and awards that you set your heart to and you're willing to put the work in for. That's the message. Now here's the path to the message. You have to be a little bit different with the girls. Remember I said earlier in this talk that their brains of the male and the female develop differently and at different paces. Okay? And that's why I don't like it when they say that girls mature faster than boys, because that's not really all that accurate. What you see looks more mature on the girls than the boys. But trust me, their brains are both going full force to develop, and this is what we're trying to help them in scouting, because that's what we're about, isn't it? Okay. So treat each child uniquely, find out their needs, and let's get started working on that. Okay, what are their areas of opportunities? Okay, now one of the things that's going to be important with the girls, just like with the boys, is what is this young lady's functional age? Remember I said that unless she's low functioning, she may not get caught until the older years. So maybe you've got a venturous crew and there's a young lady who wants to join your unit. She may have only just found out that, oh, that's right, I'm autistic. And all the puzzle pieces are coming together. And I say puzzle pieces because it really is a puzzle piece. Now, I know that with my sons and with several of the individuals that I interact with on a regular basis that are on the spectrum, it's not that they don't have the big picture. It's they've got all these pieces to the picture and they don't quite know where to put them. That's the same thing with these young ladies, okay? So, yes, you want to think of their chronological age, but think more about their functional age, okay? She may be 18 and functioning at 14. Now, for those of you that have been dealing with children most of your lives, there's a big difference between how you treat an 18-year-old versus a 14-year-old. But see, not in our special needs world. Because if the 18-year-old has the emotional development of a 14-year-old or the social development of a 14-year-old, to treat her at this age is just unfair. It sets you up for failure, your unit up for failure, and the children. Okay, so success in any adventure includes the ability to learn, mimic, participate, and gratification. Now, I say gratification, it doesn't kind of flow real well, but actually it is. Why do children come to us in scouting? Because they see us doing something they want to do. So they're willing to learn, and you're going to help them put that work in. Then they're going to participate, and remember, scouting is a safe place to fail. So that these girls, just like the boys, are going to make multiple attempts at what you're teaching them, and not all of them are going to be successful, and that's okay. That really is. And you got to let the girls know it's okay. So when you failed, guess what? That's one less way to try it again. Now you can try something new until you find what works. Okay? So that's the participation. Then they've learned it, they've participated, and now comes the gratification, like, wow, look what I did. I earned the merit badge for knots, or I earned the merit badge for orienteering. And you see that look on those children's faces, those girls' faces, like, you know what, I did this, okay? And their special needs doesn't have any change in their response. So how am I going to greet a girl who's got special needs? Well, if you took my first class this morning on autism, one of the things I talked about is being prepared. I talked about, I want you to make sure that you meet with the parents and the girl. I want you to find out, does she have an IEP? Does she have a 504? I want you to find out, are there any special plans in place for her? Is she getting any special therapies? Build your bridge from non-scout to scout with all the steps that you're going to need for this girl to be successful. Then once you've got the information, develop your ISP, your individual scouting plan. Now here's what I want you to do with that. I want you to share that with the leaders who are going to be around this young lady. Because guess what? A trained leader is a fun leader. But an untrained leader with special needs is a stressed leader who's halfway out the door. And we certainly don't want our volunteers leaving. We need everybody. Okay? So we're going to meet with the parents and the daughter, and then we're going to bring her to the group so that she can see for herself what is it she might be getting into. Now, unlike the boys, quite frequently, that will, what I call, circle the perimeter, the girls don't necessarily do that. Remember, we talked about the difference in their brains. So the girls may or may not necessarily get verbal, but they're more likely than a special needs boy to walk up to the activity, walk up to the table, even if they don't interact with the people, but to watch what they're doing. Because remember, girls are more socially driven. And as long as the scouts that she's going up to do not rebuff her, she most likely will stay there unless she finds another table that is doing something else that's interesting, and then she might wander over there. So you want to give them that first chance to come to one of your meetings and let them walk around. Let them see what this is about. Because after all, they came to you with an idea in their mind. So what they're trying to do right now is find out, do they fit me? Are they going to include me? Is this something I want to do? And the parents are looking at, hey, they're including my daughter. Hey, they're not bullying her. Hey, my daughter is smiling. Okay, that's what we do in scouting. We include everyone. Okay, so after this first meeting, before the end of the meeting, take the mom, dad, and the young lady aside with, whoever's the leadership, and ask them, so what do you think? What was your impression? What would you like to see your daughter involved in? Or to the young lady, what would you like to do? And see if it fits. Now, don't be disappointed if it's not a right fit. Because it may be that your unit focuses on news events and boating or hiking, and this girl was more looking towards, knots and camp cooking and canoeing and stuff like that. Okay? In which case, then you say, not a problem. I can find a unit that fits your daughter's needs. And then you contact your DE. And they can help you with getting the correct placement. Okay? Okay. So now, we've talked about how the boys are going to circle the perimeter. The girls are going to come in. Okay? That's from their side. Now let's talk about preparing your side. So before you bring this family in, you need to let your leadership know who's coming to visit. Now, you wouldn't want somebody just walking into your house and going into your fridge. You want to know who they are and who invited them. It's the same thing with your unit, okay? With the children, you give them only so much information as they can understand. So I'm going to tell Mr. Pat, oh, Mr. Pat, I have a new child. Her name is Sarah. And Sarah's on the spectrum, and her mom and dad are going to come visit us tomorrow night. And I would like very much to bring them in to see what you're going to be doing. Okay? Now, Mr. Pat's going to either say, well, this is a great idea, or no, we're going over a rough spot. Can we go over next Wednesday? Okay, that's fine. I just avoided a deficit, because what I've done is given the leader the opportunity to tell me when is the optimal time for this family and girl to come join us. So now, as I said, you have avoided that deficit. When the leader says it's okay, the other thing that needs to happen is the children of the unit do need to be told, oh, we're going to have a new visitor. Her name is Sarah, and she wants to join scouting. And she's never been part of the scouting unit before, or she was, and it wasn't quite so successful. So we want to give her that big, warm scouting welcome and see which one of your dens, which one of your units is going to get her attention. So I want you to put on your best outfits. I want you to really shine, and let's see if we can't help this lady to join us, because you know, the more the merrier. Okay, so if you and your leaders are trained, it's going to be a happier unit. If the scouts that are welcoming this young lady in are, and I won't say trained so much, but they're prepared for what this young lady might or might not need, okay? We don't have to focus on her deficits. We want to focus on her opportunities. So Miss Sarah here doesn't really talk so much, but you know what? She can write in hieroglyphics. Can any of you do that? Oh my goodness, maybe she could teach us. Or this Sarah, did you know that she knows how to do complete pet grooming for a dog, a horse, a pig, and a cow? Do any of you know how? Maybe she could teach us something. So get their interest in trying to include her. As she comes in and they notice deficits, give them the freedom to ask questions as long as they're not hurtful. Okay? Remember I talked about the bullying, because the minute she starts to see something, she may pull back, and we don't want that to have happen. Okay. Now, girls typically exert less physical energy than boys. It's not that they can't, and it's not every individual. Remember I said each one's unique. But as a group, it's easier to get a set of girls to settle down than it is sometimes to get a set of boys to settle down. Okay? But you want to work with what they have to the benefit of your unit, the scouts, and this new young person that's coming in. Okay? Planning a program for them requires that you don't want to lose them. If I am extremely excited about learning about the stars and the constellations and all those systems, and I come in and all you want to talk about is computers, how long do you think you're going to hold my attention? Yeah. Now, that's not to say that you got to tailor every meeting to this young lady. What it's saying is, make sure you have enough of a mix between what she already knows she can expand on, and you can expand on, to what maybe she doesn't know and needs a little help. It's got to be a nice balance, because, and this is with any scout, if you talk in German to an Italian, you lose them. It's the same thing with scouting and activities, okay? The other thing is, think about how much time it takes to do each of these events. As I'm talking to you on this video, what you don't see is my son, Stephen McAllister. He's behind the camera right now, and he cues me when I will go over time or when I need to expand on what I'm doing. So he is cueing me, okay? And by the way, all the videos you've watched of me today are compliments to my son, Stephen, so applaud to Stephen. Now, he is giving me those little windows of time so that I know where on my slides I need to be. When do I need to speed up? When can I slow down? When can I bring in the longer examples? And when do I need to shorten those examples? It's the same things with these scouts and with these girls. Watch their attention span. And if you see that she's starting to do stuff like this, well, maybe it's just like with the boys. I said in another class is, well, I can look at you or I can listen to you, but I can't do both because your face has distracted me. It might be that. Or it might be that you're talking about something that's not making sense to her. She has no basis to build from. So you want to watch this young scout and see what she needs and what she can bring to the group. And accolades, accolades, accolades. Give her and the other scouts as much credit as you can. Hey, Stephen, you just did a really great job. Thomas, oh my goodness, I can't believe the artwork you just produced. Give them something so that they leave your meeting feeling like, you know what? I'm all that and 10 cents more. Because isn't that what we all want to do? Go home at the end of the day feeling like, you know what? I made a difference today. And that's what these kids want. Okay? Physical issues. Now, when we originally were talking about special needs scouts, one of the things that I had discussed with you was about how some of the boys had a problem called low muscle tone. What low muscle tone, for those of you that maybe are not familiar with this term, what it means is that, I, with normal muscle tone, I might be able to run 10 feet. But if I only had low muscle tone, in other words, I didn't have the kind of strength or the endurance, I might only be able to go 5 feet or maybe 7 feet, and I'm completely exhausted. It's the same thing with these girls. So when you're starting to do activities, one of the things you want to take a look at is, what is she physically able to do? It's kind of like taking a scout with asthma on a camping trip and saying, oh, everybody, why don't we go run up that hill? Well, you might be able to do that. Yeah, I know I'm not going to do it. But this other scout might do it. But see, the scout with asthma, would you send him running up that hill if he was already wheezing a little bit? Probably not. With low muscle tone, you have to look at activities like swimming. Something that the rest of us, we jump in the water, and whether we're playing or we're actually swimming or we're messing around, we don't care. But someone with muscle tone wears out very, very quickly. So think about her. You guys are going to go to the pool, and she's used to sitting in the 4-foot pool so she can splash around a little, and she has her fun, and she enjoys the water. But the idea of getting into a regular pool and putting her face in the water, she may not have the muscle tone to support her, and she knows this, and so now she's got poor muscle tone, she's got fear, and she's in an unusual circumstance. So that's part of that preparation that I was talking about, that you just really want to look at, what are they physically able to do? We talked in the class earlier with the boys about if they have claustrophobia. Okay? Anyone, and I'm sure some of you might even have some claustrophobia. Do you want to find yourself at the USS Constellation bunking up with 300 other people in a very small confined space where you're laying in a bed and the bed in front of you is like that far? How would that work for you? I know it wouldn't work for my boys. And there are some girls that wouldn't work either. So just like I said with regular scouting, have a plan B, okay? Again, you're going to enjoy these girls. Just give them the opportunity and give them the time, okay? They should be registered as special needs. They should be on the waiver program. And they should be able to do it in the time that they are emotionally and physically ready to do, okay? The other thing with them is, just like with the hyperactive child, wearing these children out makes the situation worse. So if you see these girls starting to wear down, they get a little whiny, or they start pulling in, they're pulling back from the group, give them a timeout. Give them an opportunity to regroup however they need to before having them join back in. Don't let them completely run away, but give them that recovery time that they might need, okay? So here's my challenge to you. 1, are you staffed and trained to the parts of the program that might interest the girls? What do you think that is? Here's the answer. The same thing the boys are interested in. And here's the second challenge. Do you have the teamwork that it's going to take to help these young people become successful scouts? Because remember, not 1 deep, not 2 deep, 3 deep leadership is always what I recommend. But more importantly, isn't it more fun when more people are participating? You also want to help this young lady to find what I call her safe person. Each of our special needs children will need to find someone that when they internally are starting to boil, something's just not right. They're not feeling the day, somebody said something that hurt their feeling, they didn't succeed at an activity. They all need to have someone that it's okay to say, Mr. Pat, I need to go see Miss Sharon because I'm not doing well here, okay? And she needs to be allowed to go to that safe person. So do you have your team built? And is your team completely trained? If you're here watching this, you're getting that training. Okay, so whether her deficits are social, verbal, or physical, Scouting has the way to handle it. We always have. This is what we've always done best. And we're going to continue to do best for these young ladies as they join our ranks and they eagle out, just like the boys are doing. And I tell you, I've seen some pictures of some of the young ladies that have eagled out. The pride on their faces is just as much as the pride of the young men as they receive their eagles. Okay? So the other thing you need to do, which is a little bit special, a little bit different, is because we're dealing with girls, remember, you have to have enough female leadership. Now, depending upon what area you are as far as regions, there are rules in place as to, can your unit have boys and girls, or can it only be boys and only be girls? Such as when they go activities, the same thing. You're going to have to check with your local council to find out what the rules are so that you can have your units fully functioning, safe, and within regulatory parameters. Okay? So, a couple of statistics, and I didn't start with the statistics this time like I normally do because I was so excited about getting the other content out. I'm so excited about these girls joining us. You know, I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, and I've always had girls in my Cub Scout pack, and I've had a plethora of special needs girls, and I got to tell you, yes, they were a challenge, and there were times I went home very, very tired, but you know what? I'm just as proud of those young ladies today as I am of any of the boys that moved up into troops and eagled out. Okay? I have a young lady by the name of Ridenauer. She is my heart's delight. She has got so much there, and I know she's going to do something really, really special. She just needs a little tweaking here, a little tweaking there, and a lot of support. Okay? So let's get to these statistics. Currently, 1 in 58 children, this is scary, at age 8 are diagnosed with autism. Think about this, folks. 1 in 58. And depending upon where you're getting your statistics from, morbidity, mortality, CDC, Autism Speaks, the numbers even vary. I've seen some statistics as low as 1 in 33. That's terribly frightening to me. Okay? Boys continue to be diagnosed 4 times more often than girls. And remember what I said. Part of that I think has to do with the fact that we're seeing it sooner in the boys. I'm very curious as we're spending more time focusing on the girls to see if the numbers level out. I don't know at this point. Okay? So some of the thoughts about why we're seeing these numbers. One is, I think as a world, we're better educated now about autism. You know, back when my son, who's 29, was diagnosed, I was actually explaining to every healthcare practitioner I took him to, Stephen is autistic. Oh, he likes art. No, he's autistic, not artistic. Okay, I had to explain to them, the physical attributes, and they were trying to put a whole bunch of labels on that child, and I'm like, no, this is all autism. Okay, today we don't have to do that so much. Today, almost anybody you talk to either has someone in their family or knows of someone with autism, and they can tell you the symptoms, and they can tell you the triggers, and they can tell you the recoveries, because we've done such a great job with that. Okay. There are better and more specific ways to diagnose autism. I remember when we first took Stephen in, it was 3 days of grueling exams on the child. Now, Stephen was 3 or 4 years old at the time. He thought they were playing games. He was having a marvelous time. And he was messing with them just because he knew he could. Okay. Today, the tests are more formalized. The goals are more specific, and the therapists are in place that watch them. So maybe one is going to look at, well, how are his muscles developing? Okay. Or how is his speech developing? Or how is his cognition developing? See, back then it was just one lump sum. Today, everybody specializes, which is good, and it's going to help these kids. Okay. There is no statistical difference between black or white communities in terms of the incidence of autism. I don't know what that means. I read that and I thought, okay. But when I looked at the Latinos, they have a much lower rate of autism. So again, here, I'm not sure what these numbers mean, but they bear us watching them. And paying attention to them, because, so the old adage is this genetic or is this environmental? I kind of think a little bit of both, but what's tipping the scales? And why is it one community over another community? There are some communities in California have a higher incidence of autism. There are areas in Idaho, a higher incidence. But why? Why that community? So there's a lot more work to be done. More of these girls are going to come to your unit, and more of these girls are going to challenge you, and you're going to love it. And so what I'm saying to you is, be prepared, be open, okay? Listen to what the parents are telling you. Listen to what these girls are trying to tell you, whether it's verbal or typing or sign language or whatever. Listen to them. You're going to learn a lot, and you're going to have the best unit you could ever have if you will include these girls. So a big shout out and thank you everybody for joining. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there today. I have other commitments that I have to attend to, but I am there in heart with you. And for those of you that want to know, there's going to be another live session set up. Please get in touch with John Hewen. He is setting it up so that on Saturday the 20th, I'll be repeating these classes on Zoom. So this way you'll get to talk to me and ask me whatever questions you want. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for coming to UOS and staying committed to the cause, because you know what? Scouting is exactly what our children need. Thank you.